Let's be real. We've all wondered about it at some point, right? Can I actually get any taller? The internet is just flooded with myths and all these weird products promising you a few extra inches. But what does the science actually have to say about it? Well, today we're going to break it all down. So, let's start with the big question. Is there some kind of secret formula, a magic pill, or a special exercise that's the key? Well, it's not really a simple yes or no. It's actually this fascinating mix of nature and nurture. And to really get it, we have to start with our own biology. Okay, here is the most important thing you need to know right up front. Your height is pretty much a story that's already written in your DNA. About 80% of how tall you're ultimately going to be is just determined by your genes. But, and this is a huge but, that leaves this really crucial 20% that's influenced by things like your lifestyle and environment. And that 20%, well, that's what we can actually work with. Now, to understand how to really maximize that 20%, we first have to get the basic rules of how our bodies grow. Because, height isn't something that can just increase forever. There's a very clear biological off switch.
So, I want you to meet the most important players in this whole height journey, your growth plates. The easiest way to think about these is like little construction zones at the ends of your long bones, the ones in your arms and legs. When you're a kid and a teenager, these areas are just soft, flexible cartilage, and their job is to actively build new bone, making you taller.
These growth plates, they have a pretty distinct life cycle. In childhood, they're open for business, just busy building bone. Then, during puberty, this big surge of hormones comes along and basically tells them to start hardening up and fusing together. And once they're totally closed, which usually happens somewhere between 18 and 20 years old, that's it. The construction zone is officially shut down for good, and your final adult height is pretty much locked in.
And who's the foreman of this whole construction site? Well, that would be a little something called human growth hormone, or HGH for short. This tiny little gland in your brain, the pituitary gland, releases HGH, and that hormone is the master signal that tells your open growth plates, hey, get to work, lengthen those bones. This hormone is just absolutely critical for growth.
Okay, so since we can't really go back and change our genetic blueprint, our focus has to shift to that 20% that we can influence. And this is where things like our environment, and especially our nutrition, play a massive role in helping us reach our full genetic potential.
And if you want a really powerful real-world example of this, just look at South Korea. During the war, when nutrition was really poor, the average height of the entire population actually went down. But in the decades that followed, as the economy boomed and access to better food improved, the average height shot back up, like dramatically. It's just crystal clear proof of how vital nutrition really is for growth.
So if you're still in your growing years, listen up, because this section is for you. Let's get into the specific, actionable things you can do to make sure your body has every single thing it needs to hit its maximum height potential. This is all about optimizing that 20%.
Think about it this way. Your bones are literally built from the food you eat. You can't build a house without bricks and mortar, right? Well, for your body, protein is for tissue growth, and calcium is the main mineral for bone strength. But here's the kicker. Calcium can't do its job properly without vitamin D to help absorb it. Without these raw materials, your body just can't build a taller frame. It's that simple.
So, what are the nutritional all-stars we should be looking for? Well, you've got your protein-packed foods like eggs, beans, and fish. For calcium, dairy is a classic go-to. And please, don't forget leafy greens like spinach, which are loaded with essential vitamins. Eating these kinds of foods is like making a direct investment in your growth.
Okay, this next one might be the most underrated growth hack of all time. You don't actually grow when you're awake and running around. You grow when you're fast asleep. Why? Because the vast majority, we're talking like 90% of your human growth hormone is released during deep sleep. So if you're skimping on sleep, you're literally skimping on growth hormone.
So, what's the magic number then? For teenagers, the science is super clear. You should be aiming for 8 to 10 hours of quality sleep every single night. It's not a luxury, people. It's a biological necessity if you want to reach your full height.
Exercise has this awesome 1-2 punch for height. First, any kind of weight-bearing activity puts a little bit of healthy stress on your bones, which actually encourages them to grow stronger and denser. And second, certain types of exercise can actually stimulate a natural boost in your HGH production. It's a win-win.
So what kind of stuff should you be doing? Well, swimming and yoga are fantastic for your flexibility and posture. Impact sports like basketball or volleyball are great for stimulating bone growth. And hey, even something as simple as hanging from a bar can help gently decompress your spine.
The key, no matter what you pick, is just being consistent with it.
All right, now it's time for one of my favorite parts, busting some myths. There is so much misinformation out there about getting taller, so let's just set the record straight with some rapid-fire facts.
Let's just tackle the #1 myth right away. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but once your growth plates have fused, again, usually by age 18 to 20, your bones physically cannot get any longer, period. No amount of diet, exercise, or magic potion can change that fundamental biological fact.
Oh man, this one has been around forever, but it's just not true. As long as you're doing it with good form and proper supervision, weight training is actually good for you. It helps increase your bone density and strength. The idea that it's going to stunt your growth is a complete and total myth.
Okay, so what about stretching? While stretching feels amazing and it's fantastic for your posture, it doesn't actually lengthen your bones. What it can do is decompress the little cartilage discs in your spine, which might give you a tiny, temporary boost in height for a little while, but it's not a permanent change.
You have got to be really careful with products you see online marketed as height-boosting pills or powders, especially the sugary ones. Here's the crazy part. Science shows that a high sugar intake can actually suppress your body's release of human growth hormone. So not only do they not work, they could be doing the exact opposite of what they promise. So, what if your growing years are already behind you? Does that mean the conversation is over? Not at all. For adults, the focus just shifts from growing taller to standing taller. And this is where you have an incredible amount of power. Slouching literally compresses your spine and can make you look inches shorter than you actually are. But by just standing up straight, pulling your shoulders back, and engaging your core, you can instantly reclaim that lost height, and you'll project way more confidence. Just let that sink in for a second. It's not about trying to change your skeleton, it's about presenting the full height that you already have. Working on your posture consistently through exercises and just being more aware can make a huge visible difference in how tall you appear to everyone.
And that's really the ultimate takeaway, isn't it? You might not be able to change your genetic blueprint, but you can always change how you carry yourself. So the real question isn't how to grow taller. It's what can you do right now, today, to stand taller. Pull those shoulders back, lift your head high, and own every single inch you've got. Thanks for joining me on this Explain.